My apologies if I just made you yawn. This is the vlog for January 30th, 2019. Today was a very productive day for me. The weather has sort of turned. It got pretty cloudy, partly sunny, but not very. Just a little bit of sun peeking through a mostly cloudy sky. Um, I finished going through the um, second act of my book, and I believe that if I just put my back into it, I can definitely finish the third act tomorrow. And then at that point, I'm going to compile it into a Word document and start sending it out. Any more passes that I do at this point are going to have to be at the request of an editor, or just proofing passes. It's very clean, as my job has been looking for spelling errors for the last 10 years at least. I've gotten pretty good at spotting my own, and I've got spell check to help me out. There are definitely going to be ones that I miss, but I think it's clean enough that I can show it to people without being embarrassed. I've read every chapter, at least, aside from just writing it. I've also read every chapter already, and now I've read most chapters at least twice, probably 3 times. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch anything else if I just read through it again. And yeah, the I've made myself chuckle quite a bit. In fact, I started laughing out loud at one of the little excerpt headers that I put at the start of some of these chapters. It's most chapters. Some chapters I leave nothing at the start just because they're sort of a continuation of a thread from the previous chapter, and I don't want to, interrupt that with some random thought from Kenneth Keltarin. But I also took down a whole load of stuff from the storage, well, from our junk room to the storage room, and things are starting to look pretty good. Like, a lot of what I have to get rid of now is just going to go into the dump, and I definitely have room for the rest of the stuff I want to keep, which was always a little bit of a concern, considering I'm technically downgrading space. But I'm using my closet now a lot better than I was before, so all things considered, things are looking good there. Now the only thing is actually selling this manuscript and probably finding a job, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to go straight into writing full time, even if I make a nice bit of money from an advance sale. I guess it's just advance. I know that I'm not going to see probably any return on royalties for the first year, if all of the information I hear is true. But, if I can really get word out there, spread by word of mouth, and get people to retweet that the book is out and what it's about, and we'll see. I've also been playing a lot of, well, I didn't play as much Elite Dangerous today as I usually do. I didn't get started because I wanted to get into the book this morning, which is a good feeling, that desire to work. And I really put the pedal to the metal and played a lot, and that's the reason I'm doing this so late. It's nearly 11 o'clock, which is usually a lot later than I tend to do these, because I was within grasp of a couple of my bigger goals. And they were sort of at odds with one another, because one of them was to sell black market goods at 5 different black markets to get on the good side of an engineer that will improve my beam weaponry, which is one of the few areas that I haven't got engineering for as of yet. So it involved beating up a lot of pirates that were trying to beat me up and getting them to empty their cargo holds in a vain attempt to throw me off while they escaped. And in one case, just finding a wrecked ruin with a bunch of illegal salvage laying around, probably a pirate that got blown up and left behind. And I swooped in to steal his or her booty, flew it to the station that I happened to be right next to at the time. Nobody scanned me, and I just unloaded it as a black market. That was the last of it. And the Dweller, which is the name of this engineer, invited me to go pay him a visit, pay him 500,000 credits. That's the price of getting on his good side. But that wasn't all I did today, at least in Elite Dangerous. The other thing I did was, while I was busy looking for illegal salvage I could unload on the black market, I was doing a lot of missions for Federation contacts, and eventually I hit the midshipman. No, I was already a midshipman. I hit the petty officer rank of the Federal Auxiliary Navy, which is the smaller navy that's made up of the private commanders that represent players in the game. It's not the actual Federal Navy, because the actual Federal Navy is all NPCs. But the thing about getting to Petty Officer, you don't get any new ships, you don't get anything really special, except you get a permit to go to Sol, S-O-L, which is another name for our solar system. And our solar system 1,000 years in the future is a little bit different than it is right now. The actual capital of the Federation is Mars, because Earth is considered unlivable by most people because of its toxic atmosphere. Mars, on the other hand, has been terraformed into a beautiful world, I guess. I still sort of expect it to be a big red blot, but I'm going to fly out there when I get a chance tomorrow to see what it looks like. But there's really no comparison for flying into Earth in this game, because you see so many different planets with so many different, procedurally generated terrains, and you see rocky worlds and icy bodies and high metal content planets that you just basically go to mine. They can have interesting features like lava ridges, or even mountains and valleys and peaks and craters, that kind of thing. But just staring at that pale blue dot. Apparently, if you go looking, you can find the Voyager spacecraft out in the far reaches past the Kuiper Belt in our solar system. It takes something along the lines of half an hour of flying in Super Cruise to get out that far. And it used to be very, very hard to find. I guess it's a little bit easier now with the, I can't remember, something, FSS, frame. It's a scanning tool used by explorers to map systems without having to actually fly out to the planets to physically scan them, which is what you used to have to do. And it's very difficult to find anything that's past something like 10,000 light seconds, because you have to get out that far for things to, that's about your range. Yeah, there were some very tricky things that you had to do to try and get to Voyager, but very clever players managed to figure it out. And I'm hoping I don't have to go through that many hoops, but I would love to fly in, drop into real space, and check out the Voyager probe as it slowly drifts out of our solar system. And it's apparently playing the golden record still. Greetings in so many languages, and music by a man who died penniless, but his songs will reach the stars. I wish I could remember that musician's name. And I hope I don't end up like him, with not a dime to my name, but beautiful dreams to share with everybody else. I'd rather enjoy my success, if I'm perfectly honest, if I have any success at all. I'm Eric Spornitz, and tomorrow will be better.